Some nights begin so quietly that you never expect them to explode your entire world. That night felt peaceful at first, just the soft hum of my hotel heater and the glow of my laptop screen, while I reviewed notes for the next day's conference. I was tired, miles away from home, but calm. Then my phone buzzed, a single vibration that sliced through the silence and changed everything. Madeline's text lit up. My screen at 1:14 a.m. "Don't worry, they're totally fine" sound. A sleep checked on them an hour ago that should have settled my nerves. It should have made me breathe easier. But something in my chest tightened instead, a small warning I couldn't explain. I was in Denver, 3 states away from my children, attending a mandatory medical conference. My name is Sarah Mitchula, pediatric surgeon who barely sleeps, a single mother who tries every day to give her kids a life filled with comfort and safety. My daughter Emma, 8 years old, sweet and thoughtful. My son Lucas, 6, soft-spoken and gentle. They were my entire world, and the next moment, that world nearly cracked in half. My phone buzzed again, not another text, but a notification from my smart doorbell camera. I clicked it without thinking. The screen opened. And then my heart simply stopped. There were my children. Outside. In the dark. In their pajamas. Emma was holding Lucas's hand, staring around as if trying to understand why the night felt so big and empty. Lucas looked terrified, his little shoulders shaking. They were confused, scared. Alone. Everything inside me went cold. I hit call. Madeline. Music blasted so loudly I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Hey, the kids are fine, totally knocked out," she shouted. My voice dropped to a tone I didn't recognize. "Really? Then explain why my doorbell camera is showing them outside right now." Silence. Heavy, guilty silence, then a shaky whisper. "Oh my God. Where are you, Madeline?" I demanded. I'm at Eclipse. But I swear I checked on them before I left. They were sleeping. Eclipse, the loud downtown nightclub. She was supposed to be home with my children. She had left them alone so she could party, get back to my house. Now, I hung up before she could respond. My fingers were trembling as I called Mrs. Peterson, my elderly neighbor. Thank God she answered on the second ring. "Sarah, dear, is everything all right?" Mrs. Peterson. "I'm so sorry to wake you. My kids are outside alone. Please, can you get them and bring them to your house?" "Of course, sweetheart. I see them right now." "Oh, the poor little ones." Through the camera, I watched her walk quickly across her yard in her robe, the porch light glowing behind her. Emma saw her and her small hand lifted in a relieved wave. "Emma, Lucas, what are you doing outside?" she asked gently. "We woke up and Aunt Maddie was gone," Emma said, gripping Lucas tighter. "All the lights were off, and we thought maybe she was out here." Lucas's soft crying crackled through the speaker, and I felt like I might collapse. While Mrs. Peterson guided my children into her warm living room, I called the police. Then I called Jack, my ex-husband's brother and Madeline's husband. "She said she was staying at your place tonight watching the kids," he said grudgingly. "Why? She left them alone to go clubbing. The police are already on their way." A beat of silence. Then an explosion of furious swearing. "I'm coming." The earliest flight home wasn't for 5 hours. 5 hours of helplessness. 5 hours of watching my life fall apart through blurry security footage. I sat in the airport, every muscle tense, staring at Mrs. Peterson's cameras as police. Cars pulled into my driveway, lights flashing red and blue across the house where my children should have felt safest. Madeline arrived 20 minutes later, stumbling in an Uber, high heels, tight red dress, smudged makeup. She looked like she had walked straight out of the club, which she had. She tried to explain herself to the officers, her voice shaking. "I just went out for a little bit. They were sleeping. I didn't think they'd wake up." One officer took notes. Another spoke quietly into his radio. Jack arrived moments later, rage twisting across his face. Mrs. Peterson kept me updated with gentle messages. "They're safe, dear. They're curled up on my couch with hot chocolate. Max won't leave their side. Emma is more worried about you being upset than anything else. She keeps saying she hopes Aunt Maddie isn't in trouble." That was Emma worrying about others even when she was the one hurting. My heart ached for them. Ached for the trust that had been thrown away. I scrolled through Madeline's earlier texts from the night. 7:45 p.m. Kids are fed. 9 p.m. Tucked in after story time. 11:30 p.m. Sleeping like angels. 1:14. Don't worry, they're totally fine. Every single message was a lie, carefully crafted, designed to hide what she was really doing. Later, police found her apartment key inside my home. Proof she planned to leave as soon as they slept. They gathered statements from neighbors, from Mrs. Peterson, from Jack, and from Madeline. Since the kids were found quickly and were physically unharmed, they told me the choice to press charges was mine, sitting alone in the quiet airport terminal. I thought about all the times Madeline had helped. All the nights she insisted she didn't mind watching them. How many other times had she left? How many other times had my children been alone, scared, waiting for someone who wasn't there? The thought made my stomach twist. I trusted her. She was family. And she shattered that trust in the worst possible way. Jack texted, "I'm staying with the kids at Mrs. Peterson's until you get home. We need to talk about what happens next." What happens next? A soft phrase for something so heavy. As my flight took off, I knew one thing clearly. Madeline would never again be alone with my children, but the damage she caused would ripple through our whole family in ways none of us were ready for. By the time I walked into my home at 7 o'clock, everything had grown even messier. Madeline had spent the night posting online trying to make herself look like the victim. Some people are so dramatic. Kids were perfectly safe sleeping soundly. #too overt protective. Her friends cheered her on. Such a great aunt. Some moms are too strict. Each notification lit up my anger all over again. Jack sat at my kitchen table looking exhausted. "Madeline's at her mother's house," he said. "She thinks this is all being blown out of proportion. Says she checked on the kids before leaving. Says she was only gone 2 hours. Says she deserves a life." I placed my bag down slowly. She deserves a life? My children deserve safety. They deserve to sleep without fear. Jack ran a hand down his face. "I know. But her mother says you're using this to drive a wedge between us. Says you've always been jealous of Madeline's freedom." Jealous? Of leaving children alone in the dark? I almost laughed. Almost. "The police need to know if you're pressing charges," Jack added. "It would be child endangerment. A misdemeanor." But with her social media posts trying to downplay everything. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. My ex-husband, David. Just saw Maddie's posts. What happened? Are the kids okay? Perfect. More chaos. The next hour passed with slow, careful conversations as Child Protective Services arrived. They reviewed footage, asked precise questions, made notes, and spoke calmly while I relived everything out loud. They took detailed notes about the incident, including screenshots of Madeline's social media posts and the Doorbell camera footage. Mrs. Mitchell, the SIP's worker, said gently, "Given your profession as a pediatric surgeon, you understand we take these situations seriously. Laws. Apparent lack of remorse and attempts to downplay the incident are concerning." I nodded, thinking of all the cases of neglect I'd seen in my work. I never thought my own children would be victims of it around Nan. Mine's mother, Patricia, showed up and announced. She burst to my house like she owned it. Her face red with indignation. How dare you do this to me, daughter?" She shouted. "She made one mistake, and you're trying to ruin her life. Those children were perfectly safe." I stood my ground. "They were wandering outside at 1 o'clock while your daughter was at a nightclub. They could have been kidnapped, hit by a car. Anything could have happened." "Oh, please," Patricia scoffed. "When we were young, children had more freedom. This helicopter parenting is what's wrong with your generation. This isn't about parenting styles," I said firmly. "This is about a responsible adult abandoning her duty of care." Patricia laughed bitterly. "Listen to you, so clinical and cold. No wonder David left. That was a low blow, but I refused to take the bait. I think you should leave now, not until you agree to drop this ridiculous idea of pressing charges." "Mine, sorry. Isn't that enough?" I thought about my children's faces in the doorbell camera footage, scared and confused in the dark. "No, it's not enough. And if Melanie was truly sorry, she wouldn't be on social media trying to justify what she did. Patri left in a huff, but the drama was far from over. Within hours, the family had split into two camps: those waffed I was overreacting and those who supported my decision to take legal action. Jack was caught in the middle, turn between loyalty to his wife and his duty as an uncle. I love Melanie, he told him that evening, but what she did, I can't defend it. And these social media posts trying to make you look like the bad guy. I don't even recognize Hieronymo. Emma and Lucas were quiet that day, processing what had happened in their own ways. Emma kept checking to make sure the doors were locked while Lucas wouldn't let me out of his sight. Mummy, Emma asked as I to them, and that night is Aunt Maddie going to jail? My heart broke at the worry in her voice. Nos whether, but she made a very bad choice, and there have to be consequence, like when I broke your favorite mug and couldn't watch TV for a week, something like that, I said, smoothing her hair. The important thing is that you and Lucas are safe. As I closed their bedroom dormy phone lit up with a text from Medina. Can we talk? I know I messed up, but don't let one mistake ruin everything. One mistake that could have cost me everything, I thought, but this conversation would have to wait until tomorrow. Right now my children needed me, and they would always come first. The next day would bring more family drama, more accusations, and a revelation. A bootleg line that would change everything, but for now my children were safe in their beds, and that was all that mattered. The revelation about Madeline came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Peterson called me the next morning, her voice trembling with concern. Sarah, dear, I think you should know something. This wasn't the first time. My heart stopped. What do you mean? About a month ago, when you were working the night shift, I saw Madeline leaving your house around midnight. I assumed she'd arranged for someone else to watch the children, but no, I felt sick checking my smart doorbells. History confirmed my worst fears. Over the past 3 months, there were at least 5 instances where Madeline had left the house late at night while watching my children. When I confronted Jack with this information, he broke down. I found bar receipts in her purse. Had admitted I thought they were from nights out with her friends, but the dates match up with when she was supposed to be watching Emma and Lucas. I called the police investigator handling the case. This wasn't just one incident of prejudgment. It was a pattern of endangerment. Mine's response was to double down. She posted a lengthy Facebook rant about how I was destroying her marriage and using my position as a doctor to make her look bad. Then came the text that pushed me over the edge. Mabe, if you spent less time working and more time being a real mother, y'all wouldn't need me to watch your kids. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. The family divide grew deeper. Patriar lit a campaign of harassment, telling anyone who would listen that I was an ungrateful, vindictive woman who was jealous of her daughter's youth and freedom. Some relatives stopped speaking to me entirely, but others stepped forward with their own stories. She left me son alone at the park last summer, my cousin Amanda revealed. Said she had to take an important call, but I saw her Instagram story. She was meeting friends for drinks. Even David, my ex-husband, stood firmly on my side. Press charges. He insisted the kids could have been hurt. This isn't about family loyalty anymore. It's about their safety. The final straw came when Emma's therapist called me during their session. Emma had revealed something chilling the night and Maddie left. It wasn't the first time we woke Apollonie. She had told the therapist sometimes we'd wake up and she wouldn't be there, but she made us promise not to tell. She said you'd have to work more if we did, and then would never see you that. Emotional manipulation of my children was unforgettable. I filed charges. The next day Melanie was arrested for multiple counts of child endangerment. The evidence was overwhelming. Doorbell camera footage, bar receipts, witness statements, and her own incriminating social media posts. Jack filed for divorce shortly after I loved her had told me, but I can't be with someone who would endanger children and then try to justify it. Emma and Lucas could have been hurt worse. Patriot showed up at my house one last time, but this visit was different. Their righteous anger had been replaced by desperate pleading. Please drop that charges, she begged. Madeline's life will be ruined. She never be able to work with children again. That's exactly the point. I replied calmly, she shouldn't work with children. She's proven she can't be trusted with their safety. Madeline took a plea deal, probation, mandatory counseling, and a restrict from working with or caring for minors. Moved back in with Patricia, her social media suddenly quiet. The family rift would never fully heal, but I was at peace with that. My children's safety was worth More than keeping up appearances 6 months later, Emma and Lucas, where thriving therapy had helped them process their fear of abandonment, and our bond was stronger than ever. One evening as I tucked them into bed, Lucas asked Mom, "Are you mad that we didn't tell you about Aunt Maddie leaving before now, sweetheart?" I assured him none of this was your fault. You were very brave to tell the truth when you did. Emma hugged me tight. We like Mrs. Peterson watching us know. She never leaves and she makes the best cookies. I smiled, grateful for my elderly neighbor who had become such a reliable part of our lives. Later that night, I received an unexpected email from Jack. He was moving to Seattle for a fresh start, but he wanted me to know something. You did the right thing, Sarah. I was too close to see it at first, but Madeline's actions could have had tragic consequences. Emma and Lucas are lucky to have a mother who puts their safety first, no matter the personal cost. Looking at my sleeping children, I knew very burned bridge had been worth it. Sometimes being a good parent means making hard choices, standing firm when it would be easier to give in. Mine's betrayal had cost me familiar relations, but it had given me something more valuable, the knowledge that I would always protect my children no matter what anyone else thought, and that was worth everything.